and welcome to the Momversation Club, the podcast born out of the idea that every mum needs a tribe. I'm Claire Strong.
And I'm Christina Struckmeyer. We're two moms just like you, navigating the chaotic, challenging, and often isolating world of motherhood.
It's said that it takes a village to raise a child, but we want to know, where the F is that village?
It's a question that resonates with so many of us who find ourselves raising children, managing careers, and trying to maintain our own identities, often with a sense of isolation.
Yeah, it can be a lot, but we're here to remind you that you're not alone. This is your tribe, your village, a place where you feel valued, appreciated, and understood.
We believe that by sharing our own experiences, successes, and struggles, by doing that, we can create a virtual village for all you amazing mamas out there.
So join us every week for an honest, raw, relatable discussion about all aspects of being a mum, including the stuff you just can't talk about to anyone else.
So if you've ever asked yourself where the F is the village, then you've found your tribe. So let's get into it.
Hi, Christina.
Morning, Claire. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Just enjoying the drizzly weather that's coming in. I love this time of year. I know people don't like when the sunshine kind of goes down, but I love the fall boots, the spring boots, the layers. Like this time of year is my fave.
So my mum and dad are staying with me right now, and they've obviously come over from England. And they just love the weather we have here in San Diego because it's always sunny and generally it will get warm at some point in the day, even on a cloudy day. And so I've got to say, I know what you're saying, but I'm not from California originally. I'm from rainy old cold Yorkshire. So I am good with the winter weather. I can just quite happily have sunshine and 70 degrees 365 days a year. So you and I differ on that one.
Well, you're in the right location for that, Claire. Good on you.
I know. I feel so lucky. I never take for granted living here. It's just amazing. But listen, what are we chatting about today?
Yeah. So today is a viewer submission, which I love. Mm-hmm. We love viewer submissions. So if you have an idea for like a podcast idea, send it our way because we're into it.
Yeah.
But we got a viewer submission from a gal who listens to our show, and she is married with young kids. Mm-hmm. And she was wondering, how do you navigate when you have kids in your house, staying connected to your husband or your partner in an intimacy way? And so I think she meant like wink, wink intimacy. But today we're going to discuss all things intimacy when you have kids at the house, regardless of age.
So this is a great topic, and I bet every single couple out there who's got kids can relate to it. So, Okay, you go first then. I want to know, what's the secret of yours and Alex's success when it comes to staying connected?
Okay, well, first off, I want to speak to your point about it being very common, because it is. Yeah. I did a little bit of research because I like to do a little bit of sneaking on the internet and kind of look and see what. First off, don't Google intimacy with kids. That is a different thing.
Jeez. Yeah. We may not get what.
Don't do that.
Exactly like that.
Sort of list. But it's really common. There's a lot of people who go from having intimacy when it comes to sex, once a week or so. And then when they have kids, it shifts, it changes. And in previous episodes, we've talked about the evolution of us and how something that might have worked 10 minutes ago, 5 years ago, it's no longer valid in this new space of motherhood. And it goes like that for your relationship too. Like you're going to have ebbs and flows. And before you have kids, it's kind of just you and your partner. For my husband and I, we have a different situation because when I came into the relationship, much like you, I already had kids. Mm-hmm. So Claire, you had older kids. Like how old were your kids when you first got into a relationship with your current husband? With your husband.
With your current husband. I'm losing track of these husbands. No, for the record, God. I have only been married twice. This is my second husband and my last husband. Good Lord. Okay, so for me, it was a little different because when Kyle and I had a very long distance relationship. And so we didn't actually live together until my girls were, they would have been 7 and 9.
Okay.
But And I'm sure there are people in a similar situation to the situation that I was in and that you were in, who already have kids when they meet their current
Yeah.
partner. And so you can't go through that normal, oh, you have a few years on your own or 5 years on your own, and then the kids come on board. The kids are already part of the package. Now, we were lucky, though, because we were able to have some very romantic dates because of our situation. So we did make the most of it. So instead of having like the regular setup where maybe, under normal circumstances without kids, one of you would go over to the other's house and have dinner and
Exactly.
stay the night. So we didn't do that. So we went away to do that type of thing because
Yeah.
of the situation with the kids. So it is very different. So you kind of almost are deprived of a regular courtship when you already have
Yeah.
kids. You are.
Yeah. Yeah. We were
And
similar. Like
yeah.
my husband and I, Alex, we were about 2 hours apart. And
Hmm.
so to see each other was like a trek. And it was kind
Yeah.
of like a fun little love adventure. I felt like I was in a little bubble, you know?
I did too.
There was like
Yeah.
love songs playing in my brain and like, there's a lot of like romance and
Oh God, yeah. Oh yeah. I
it
knew
was
the
like
girl. I was there.
fun. And
Yeah.
his life was so different, much like I'm
Yes.
sure your situation where it's like, oh, how
Yes.
fun to be on this adventure with this person who has such a different life than me.
And just to
Um,
pause there, Christina, because we didn't mention this, that both of our partners, our current husbands, I like
our
that phrase.
current
It
husbands.
makes it sound like, we'll be moving on to the next at some point. No, husbands, we're not going to do that. But our husbands didn't have kids, did they?
No, no,
So they
mine
had
was
spent the
established
entire
adult with no
Yeah,
kids.
same with mine. So they've spent their entire, because Carl's a bit older than me, so he'd spent his entire 38 years or however old he was, 40 years without kids. And so it was me bringing kids to the relationship, but not him. So
Mm.
that's like a dynamic to throw in all of this, isn't it?
For sure, for sure. So, now we get our love bubbles, our
Yeah.
time, and then we
Hmm.
dive into kind of the meshing of like this is me outside of that love bubble with my kids,
Hmm.
which is a different version of yourself.
Oh, it
And I think
totally
that
is. Yeah.
every mama can relate to that, whether
Yeah.
you are in our situation where you've had kids and then you're introducing, or you had a child and then you're a new person after that. Like you really
Yeah.
are. Once you have a child, you're transformed in a way physically, mentally, like priorities, all this stuff shifts about you. So you're kind of like, in a way, even with the person you have a baby with, you're re-meeting each other as parents and you're
You
seeing each
are.
other
And
in that space, in that arena.
yeah, I do feel like mums, we have split personalities because we need to. No, I'm serious, we do. We have the wife personality, we have the lover personality, we have the mum personality. They're all, different
Yeah.
facets of
Yeah.
us. And depending on the situation is that will depend on which personality you recruit for that moment. And sometimes it's
Totally.
a very quick transition between one and the other.
Well, it's hard to like, I feel like all day long, especially when you're in that young season of young
Yeah.
kids,
Yeah.
you're like listening to kids' music and you're like playing, you're in your mom bun and your sweats and then you have to be like,
Yeah.
oh, hello. Like
I'm going to let you into a really funny story. I probably shouldn't be sharing this. I'm not going to mention any names.
okay, okay, I'm listening with bated breath.
Okay, okay. But so when I was dating, I don't know why I'm whispering because it's just you and me. It's not like anyone's prying
Don't tell
in.
anyone.
Yeah,
No
yeah.
one's listening to this clarifying
Seriously,
secret.
seriously, mums, I need you to have my back on this. Don't tell anyone. But so so in between me separating from my first husband and meeting Kyle, my husband now, um, I had a bit of a fling with someone in France. It was all very exciting. So I was
Ooh la
living there.
la.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was quite the movie setup. But the hilarious thing was he'd come over to my place, and because I was in the stage with young kids at that time, I'd got toys strewn all over the floor, and we were, kind of getting a little romantic, and then all of a sudden, this toy starts. It was possessed. It just starts playing this like music, and it was the most ridiculous time for that to happen.
Oh
But
my god.
that was just like a summary of my life at that stage. It was just, I'm trying to, conduct an adult grown up relationship with someone, but then I've also got these two babies at home and really, that is my life. And so
Yeah.
even for the like half an hour or whatever it was, I can't escape that because even if I try to, a toy is going to remind me that, hey, you have
No,
other things going on here.
totally,
Yeah,
totally. I had a similar thing when I was divorced before I met Alex. There was some
yeah,
dating and things like that.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
remember I dated a guy and I didn't know he smoked. I was dating him for just a couple of
Oh,
dates or whatever.
yeah,
And
yeah.
we had reached a point where
Bad
he
boy.
had I was I know, right? He was a nurse, so he should have known better. He was a doctor.
But it's always, oh my God, isn't it always the nurses?
I
It's always
know.
the
Yeah, he
nurses.
was
What's
working in the
going on
medical
with
field.
that?
So anyways, we got into a point where, he was at my household
Yeah.
and he had taken a smoke. I didn't know he was just going to go outside and get something out of his car, but he was smoking. He was secretly smoking.
Oh,
And he put his cigarette out next to my daughter's like little tykes, like taxi cab.
yes, I
And the
remember
next
that.
day I was like playing outside with her and I found a cigarette and I realized this mother effer like smoked a cigarette and put it out next to my child's toy. I
Oh my
called
God.
him and I was like,
Yeah.
"How dare you?" So
Was that the end
I
of
was like,
that?
no,
You
well,
ever
yeah,
since?
that was it. That was all. That's all.
Yeah,
I was
yeah, yeah,
very
yeah.
cutthroat when it came to dating. I was like, one red
Yeah.
flag and I'm out because I've been in a relationship where I wasn't cool with it.
I think that's what it is. I think when you come out of a long-term relationship, you've got zero tolerance for
Yeah,
the BS,
I'm
basically.
done. I'm like,
Let's just
I
be
see that.
let's be
I've
blunt
seen what
about
I
it.
need to see.
Yeah. You have
Okay,
unrealistic
so
priorities.
we've
That's
migrated. So back
different.
to,
Yes, let's get back. So I want to know. Okay,
but I
so
love
right
that
now,
your possessed toy like interrupted your nookie because I
I'm
think
sorry,
that,
but I felt like I needed to share that because actually I've never shared that story. I just thought it was quite funny. Anyway, I want to know. So right now, so you and Alex, you have got a toddler and a 9-year-old.
yes,
So
yes.
what does intimacy look like for you guys now compared to what it did before, particularly before the toddler came along?
Yeah, well, having a child who was older before, because
Mhm.
so we had the love bubble time, right? Where it was
Yeah,
like excursions and like that was
yeah,
like a thing.
yeah,
And then we had the
yeah.
time where we were introducing her to him. And then,
Mhm.
she would go back to her dad's house and then we would have our time. So we could pause like physical intimacy during that timeline. But
Okay.
then we had the time where we move in. And
Yes.
now you're really getting a good look at what I look like as a mother and like what
Yeah.
that's like.
Yes.
And I'm seeing him as like a father type role.
Yeah,
And
sure.
which by the way is so sexy. Like no one talks about that, but seeing a man holding like a baby or like doing something fatherly. Like the other day, Alex was putting
Mm-hmm.
together this like IKEA type like play kitchen for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I have never been more turned on.
Oh, that's so funny. But I think because you
Uh,
really respect those qualities, I think that's what it is. I think your respect kind of like tenfold multiplies tenfold
Totally.
in those situations.
It's
Don't you
hot.
think? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, nothing hotter than a man vacuuming or like taking care of kids or something. So, anyways, we had that
Ah,
love bubble, then we have the meshing. And at the
mhm,
time, she's, 6 or 7 at the time.
mhm,
And so she's at the age where you can like put on a movie
mhm.
and
That's
like,
that's great. That's
go in
great.
the other, like Little Mermaid is an hour and a half.
Oh, wow. That's
You
more
you
than enough
well, I
time.
mean, we don't it's more than enough time, but, you
Yeah,
can lock the doors and make sure everything's okay, and
yeah,
then, like,
yeah,
you could sneak off in the middle of the day for a
yeah.
little, skyrockets in flight, afternoon delight, and so
I've never heard of that before.
it's a
This is
song.
like
You never heard that?
no,
It's
by
like,
who?
"Skyrockets in flight, boom."
No, who's it
I'll
by?
send it to you. I don't know. It was
Okay.
a but
Oh my
anyways,
God.
that's how
Brilliant.
we
Mhm.
got kind of sneaky is like it wasn't at
Yeah.
night because by the time you get to night, for me, I'm so exhausted. I'm so tired. Um,
Yeah.
so like that's off the table most nights. I'm just
Yeah,
exhausted.
I
So
hear
it's like the
you.
middle of the day, like sneak
Oh.
off,
Mm.
weekends, things like that.
Mhm.
So that's kind of how we handled it.
What
Then the
about morning?
toddler, you know,
Asking for friend.
I was gonna say, so when I was thinking about this topic, I'm like,
Mhm.
where is the time where parents can like find that time for themselves, right? And so it depends if you're bed sharing or not, right? So if you've
Yeah.
got a
Oh,
child
of
in the
course,
bed,
yeah. Yeah, you see,
which
I've
we do
gone past
not.
this stage. Okay,
Yeah,
I used to
I
have
have
babies.
children in their
Yeah.
crib or in their bed. Like we
Mhm.
don't bed share
Yeah.
at our house.
Yeah.
But if
That's
you
a good point.
do, which is a parenting choice,
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
makes
sure.
things a little harder for like a
Oh,
morning
it did.
session.
Although my kids have been replaced by dogs in the bed, so actually I now have two dogs in the bed. So
Which is very
same
interactive. You
applies.
should probably not do that.
The same applies with dogs in the bed. So okay, so I want to know this as well, because I don't know about you, but it's not just the sex. It's
Yes.
I want to feel that I'm connected with my husband. I want to feel that my husband wants to spend time with me. And
Yeah.
so for me, intimacy also looks like us going out for dinner on the occasions that we're able to. If the girls are staying out at friends, or if we trust them enough to be home alone for 2 hours without killing each other, because that's the stage of
That's
90
a,
we're
that's
at.
a real concern.
It's a real concern, that we don't return to a massacre.
Yeah.
So that to me is also what intimacy looks like. So yes, it is the physical,
So you
but
guys
it's
do date
physical.
nights.
Yeah, we do date nights, and
Do you have
if
like
I
a do you have like a set day? I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but do you have like a set day or is it
no,
just
no,
like sporadic or
because quite often the girls do get invited out on sleepovers. So if that's the case and both of them are out, then we always do a date night. We'll go and get dinner, and then just hang out, watch a movie, just have a lay in the next morning. And obviously, if it's a weekend, not during the week, but have a bit of a lay in, go and get coffee. So that to me is also intimacy, and little things, Christina, like him holding my hand, him just physically touching me. It doesn't need to be the full on bedroom scene. It can be,
yeah.
us just, walking around the house, or, in the car together, and, he reaches out and holds my hand. That to me is also intimacy. And I get a little mardy if I don't get any of that. Do you know what mardy means?
No, please share.
Okay, so Mardy's an English word. It's particularly popular in Yorkshire. So all our listeners back in the UK will be like, "Oh yeah, yeah, we know what Mardy is." So Mardy means grumpy,
Oh, like
and so
pissy.
yes, but I think Mardy just sounds nicer than that.
It
Piss is a
sounds
little,
nicer.
piss is a little crass.
Yeah.
But Mardy,
Sorry, that's me.
no,
No,
I'm
but okay,
joking
so you
with
get
you.
a little naughty if you don't get like
What?
physical touch.
Say that word again. I just need to make sure you're pronouncing it right. Say it again.
Maudie. You get a little
Mardy.
maudie.
No, Mardy, not Mordy.
Oh, I thought it was a
Mardy.
you.
No, well, no, it might be because of how I pronounce it. So Mardy is Mardy. Mardy.
Mardy.
Mardy. Yes, I get
Okay.
Mardy. Yeah.
I thought you were saying Maud, like Maud Apatow. Okay, Mardy.
No,
Got it.
Mardy. Mardy. And then, sometimes I'll even refer to, if Kyle's been grumpy, I'll say, "Oh, you're such a Mardy bum." A Mardy bum. That's even like worse. So I do get very Mardy if I
Yeah.
am not shown some affection. So
Yeah.
yeah,
What
I
matters?
do. I do.
Well, and I like little gestures too. Like if I'm
Mm,
washing the dishes, I want you to come behind and give me a kiss on the cheek or
that's
grab my
nice.
butt.
I like that. Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. We'll
Yeah,
take that too.
I like a good random butt slap every once in a while. Like that. I'm into it. Something we also do is like words of affirmation,
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever read like the five love languages, the book, where it
No,
talks
I
about
haven't, but you've mentioned this before. I think I'm just a little bit behind the door with this. I
yeah.
need to read it.
Oh,
Yeah, I
I
will.
think it'd be a really good read for you.
Yeah,
But
okay.
one of the things they say is like words of affirmation. So like compliments, like hyping that
Mhm.
person up. That
Yeah.
also speaks intimacy to me because it makes me feel like I'm being known and I'm being seen. And
Yes.
that really fills my cup. So something he does is he does that in front of our children. So he'll be
That's
like, "Isn't
nice.
mommy so smart?" Or like, "Look
Oh, I
at
like
mommy
that.
making dinner. Isn't it so good when
Yeah.
mommy like create makes this meal or whatever?" And like he'll and
Nice.
I'll do the same thing back to him. I'll say like, "Oh, isn't
Mm,
daddy so awesome for building that for us?" Like
that's
we'll
nice.
hype each other up in front of the kids because I
I love
want
that.
our kids to see intimacy too. Like I
Yes.
want them to
Yeah.
know what a healthy relationship can look like when you
And
love
it
each other
doesn't
very much.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be like oh god, is it Courtney Kardashian and Travis
No,
Scott?
yeah, with like
Not
they're
like
all over
that.
each other. Like,
It
no,
doesn't need
no,
to be
no
like
offense.
over
Like,
the
it's not my jam, but like, yeah,
No, I
like,
mean, and that's fine. They do them. What I'm saying is, you don't need to necessarily be like embarrassing in front of the kids to the point where they're like, "Oh
no.
God, get a
But
room. This is
holding hands
awful."
while you're
Yeah,
watching
yeah,
TV, or
exactly.
before bed, like a hug and kiss.
I love it.
Um,
Yeah.
those kinds of things matter because at the end of the day, without those, you're kind of just these like two roommates that live in a house together and are being
So
like
true.
dictated by these little tater
Yeah.
tots.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
And like
so
it can feel
true.
really daunting and like, and then also one of the things that I really believe in, especially as someone who's remarried, is like
Mhm.
your relationship is going to be need to be prioritized because at some point your children are going to leave the nest and you're going to have each other again only.
Yeah. So that's another great point. And occasionally I do think about that because you do need to make sure that your relationship is healthy without the children as part of the whole distraction. Because, like you say, at some point, it is going to be just you two. Your kids are probably not going to be with you forever. And so you need to be able to be comfortable enough around that person and have enough to sustain that relationship that is non-child related.
Yeah, like a deep friendship, and
Yeah.
also like a romantic, like intimacy filled relationship as well. Whether
Yeah.
that's, the frequency of the actual sex piece of it is
Mhm.
completely up to each couple and like what your
Mhm.
comfortability is, like what your specific needs are.
Mhm.
And I think you should talk about that together in a non threatening
Mhm.
way. But like,
Mhm.
I think also the other stuff, like the other ways of
Mhm.
building intimacy that we're talking about are really important to keep in there because
Yep.
again, otherwise you're just these two strangers and these kids grow up, leave the house and you start looking at each other like, I don't have anything in common with you.
Yeah. God, that's an awful feeling as well. Just if that was the case, that I mean, my stomach's turning right now. Just, I mean, I hope that's not the case with my husband and I, but that would be a terrible situation to be in, wouldn't
Yeah.
it? Because
I
the
think it
kids
happens a
do.
lot.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. Because if you think the kids kind of dominate your life while they're living with you, it doesn't matter what stage they're at, even if they're older teenagers, it's still very much about the kids. And
Yeah.
so I think it's just important to make sure that you're going to be okay as a couple when that day comes.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of advice online as I was like snooping.
Yeah.
And some advice I agree with and some things I'm like I actually don't think that would work for us. Like one of
Mm.
the things they said online is that you should make like a sex day.
Oh, yeah, but
Which
that's
by
too
the way,
forward.
I know
That's too forward.
there's a couple in my life that
Hmm.
is I'm not going to out them because it's embarrassing, but that's
Yeah,
an
no,
older
don't do
couple
that.
in my life
Yeah.
and they have their sexy day is Fridays.
Oh,
And
okay.
it's well known. And
Oh,
it's like, don't stop by so and so's house on a Friday, or else you're going to catch
really?
an eyeful. Don't just walk into that person's
Oh,
house because you're going to get
wow.
a lot of stuff to things you can't unsee. And so they have
How
like an
funny that
intimacy
everyone knows
day.
about this as well.
Oh,
Okay.
oh yeah,
Wow.
yeah. They're like, no, this is my day. Don't
Mhm.
call us, don't invite us to things that this is our day.
I got
And they
it.
like, go out to dinner and like it's like a whole day of
That's
romance.
that's
I
nice.
don't
I
know
like
why
that.
I'm saying it like that, by the way. Romance. I've said that a couple times.
Are you
But
secretly French? I mean, what's going on here? I mean, what type?
maybe,
Maybe
maybe.
I don't know kind of what language that sounded like, but
By the way,
what,
because we've been talking all the time, I am
yeah.
starting to get a little bit of your verbiage, like in my language
Are you
sometimes.
really? I
A
love
little
it.
bit. A little
Well, so you
bit.
can throw Mardy in there now, can't you, as well?
I
You can say to
will.
Alex, Alex, stop being so Mardy.
And he'll go, what?
Yeah.
So, anyways, the reason that wouldn't work for me is
Okay.
the supercharge of that day being the day
Yes, I
would give me
agree.
so much anxiety.
That's what I
Like,
mean. It's too forced. There's too much pressure.
too much
And yet,
pressure.
and
Because
yet,
what if you're not feeling it that day? Like, what if
exactly.
that day you're feeling gassy? Or
Hey,
like,
listen, if you are not in the mood, you're not in the mood. So this
yeah,
is something that you really cannot force. And if you do
yeah.
force, you're not going to enjoy it. And probably the other person is going to know because you're going to have to fake the whole thing. So I think you both need to be on the same page with this. And that whole, oh, this is the day a week that we do that, I think it's too forced. It's too much pressure.
Yeah, I think a date night could be nice, you
A date
know?
night's great because a date
And
night doesn't sorry to interrupt, but a date night doesn't I think we need to take the pressure off date nights. It doesn't mean that you have to go the whole hog or,
totally.
come home and suddenly change into some like lingerie. It can be just that you two are either going to get dinner together and then you're going to hang out, or you're going to just watch a movie together. You may be going to cook something at home, and it can just be enjoying each other's company. And it's okay if someone falls asleep because they're tired. It's fine. There's no pressure.
Totally. I do think though that date nights can sometimes lead to the more likeliness that that might happen, just
Mhm.
because for me, when I am gearing up to like approach that situation, it
Yeah.
starts with myself. I want to
Uh-huh.
feel sexy for me.
Yeah.
And so that day, I'm making sure I wear an outfit that I feel really like confident in. I'm going to do
Yeah.
my hair, maybe throw some
Mhm.
eyeliner on, some mascara, and just kind of feel myself for that day. And
Yeah.
that vibe usually like leaks over to the other person, and they also feel the confidence coming from you. And you don't need to say, "Hey, tonight at 7 p.m. the kids
Yeah.
go down, it's going down." Like, no, it's you don't have to do that. It's just it's very clear that like I am my open sign is on should you
Mhm.
approach me for that, because I am feeling my own self.
Yeah, I
And
love it.
yeah, and you can kind of tell when the other person's not going to be down for an approach, like
Yeah, you can. It's hard
like
work. But you may as well not.
around the
I mean,
holidays I watched Alex take down like two things of pie and a whole sleeve of shortbread cookies, and I went, tonight's not the night.
I know. You just knew. No,
Was like, I'm not gonna approach him because he's gonna be all sugared out and like in a coma over there.
oh no, no. And it's yeah, and you both got to be feeling it. Otherwise, the enjoyment's not going to be there. It's going to be full of pressure, and it's going to be hard work on the person. Well, both people, I guess. The person who's trying to instigate and the person who doesn't want to. It's just no. Let's leave the pressure off in 2024. Let's leave the pressure off, and let's the mood of the day take its course. Um,
Yes.
But so this is interesting. I'm getting quite a few tips from you actually. But
Okay.
yeah, I want to know. I'd love to hear from our listeners, wouldn't you?
I mean, yeah, but if it's gonna be a little bit TMI, maybe message us. But
Well,
yeah,
I
I
mean,
would love to hear like what
you know,
kinds of things do you have? Like, for instance, I have like some rules, like some
yeah,
non-spoken
okay.
rules. Like at night, Alex and I, when one of us goes to bed, the other one, unless there's something specific, like I'm out late for work or I'm out of town,
Mhm.
the other one goes into the bed with them. So like if I'm tired and he's not
Oh,
tired, he'll read a book next to me until he falls asleep. Like
oh, that's
we have
nice.
a
I love.
mandatory like lights out together.
Do you?
Um yeah, and then
But what if the other
we
ones?
cuddle a little
Oh,
bit.
that's nice. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
we
but
also
what
don't have a
if?
TV in our bedroom. That was a
No, we
big
don't.
decision.
Yeah,
We don't do that because
yeah,
then
yeah.
the bedroom remains asleep in like relaxation and kind of like a quiet space for us to retreat to.
That's
Um
great.
yeah, maybe our couples, maybe our listeners might have some things that they do to kind of like lay the scene, because that's the thing about it is like
Yeah.
without putting the pressure of like it has to be this day at this time or
Mhm.
this date night. How do you like make sure that when you do have the energy and when you do feel sexy, that you have like the landscape to be able to do that?
Yeah.
Um, I
And
know one of my
I think.
friends, if she shaves her legs, her husband knows it's on,
Are you kidding? That is funny. Oh my
which is
god.
so true. I'm like
Yeah,
my
it
legs
is.
during the winter, like,
It is.
oh,
Yeah. Yeah, I'm exactly the same. But I would be interested in hearing what you guys do just to keep that connection going. So it doesn't even need to be the whole, oh, on our date nights we do this. I'm talking about like little
the
things
spark.
throughout the day. Well, just little, like some of the stuff you've mentioned, bigging each other up in front of the kids, or just, you know, um, I don't know, just staying connected. So, I think we could all use some tips and advice in this
Yeah.
category. I certainly could. So I'm open to suggestions.
Yeah, and I think if you just keep the biggest thing I think with this topic and like with just staying intimate with your husband,
Mhm,
whether it's sex or other things,
mhm,
is just making sure that they're still not just mom or not just dad, that you're two people that are partnering
mhm,
together in this life. And
mhm.
as long as you continue to see the other person as a person and not like
Yeah.
a tool or a tag team partner
Mhm.
for parenting, then you, I think, retain some of that spark because you still love
Yeah.
this person that you fell in love with.
So that's why I think going out of the house on your own for dinner, for example, is so great because you're not distracted by the kids. And so you can actually see that person for them outside of their role in the house or in the family. And I think, you realize what it was that attracted you to them in the first place. They look at you and you're like, oh yeah, I'm so into you.
And it might take a little bit of time. Like if you've never implemented a date night, you might show up to that date night and all you can think about is like the kids. I don't know if
Yeah.
you've ever been on a date night where you start talking about the kids,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. I
that
know
can
it
be
happens
kind
a
of like
lot. Yeah.
yeah.
Especially,
So
and
having
it
some
tends to
like
be
talking
negative.
points,
It always tends
like
to be negative. Like what is wrong with the
yeah,
kids as well? It's never like, oh, aren't the kids great? Aren't they amazing? It's like, and then it's like,
those
oh my
kids.
God. It's kids.
No, you
Listen,
guys are like two prison breakers. Like we're
I
out of the
know,
house.
I know, exactly. So yeah, I agree. Carry on then.
Yeah, yeah,
Sorry.
just maybe some like talking points. Like
Mhm.
online there's a lot of really great get to know you questions, like getting to know your
Mm,
partner more. And sometimes I throw those at Alex and he's emotionally connected and like he's a Cancer like we've talked about with astrology. So he's
yeah.
always game and we talk about things like, you know, what are 3 things about me that you would share with a friend who was trying to get to know me or
Mm,
something? Or
nice.
what was the thing that when you first saw me, or if you were on a dating app, when you first like saw my profile that
Hmm.
stood out to you? Like things like that. Cause again, you're trying to feel known, create that sense of intimacy emotionally so that it can lead to the other types of intimacy too.
Love it.
Yeah. So, anyways, viewers, give us your tips. We can keep the
Yeah.
spark alive. We would love to share them in a
Yes, we
future
would.
episode. And if you have any like other types of branch offs of this topic, like send
Mhm.
us suggestions. Again, like we said at the top of the episode, we love a viewer suggestion.
Love, love, love your suggestions. Yeah, they're the best because the other thing is we know that what we're talking about is something that you actually want to hear because we don't want it to be just Christina and I, enjoying the
Who cares what
sound
we
of
think?
our own voice. Exactly. We want to be talking about stuff that, you're talking about, our mum friends are talking about. So yes, please share your suggestions with us. We'd love to hear them. So that brings us to the end of another episode of the Momversation Club.
And if you've enjoyed today's show, which I hope you have, please don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. Your support helps us reach even more moms and build a stronger village.
Yep, and just remember, we're here for you, and together, I promise, we'll figure out where the F that village is at.
See you next time.
Bye.